Trevor Gemma couldn't be here. He met with a certain accident. But welcome to this week's episode of A Filthy Talk. Coming to you live from a Filthy Lot Studios in North Vancouver. Joining me today, as usual, we have Christopher Livingston. Hi, Chris. How are you?
Yep. Nope. Okay. Hey, how's it going? Hi. Yeah.
Good.
No, I am good. No,
Yes?
we're here. We're having fun.
Oh, good.
This is a whole new thing right here. But this is working for me. I like it. It's good.
Confusing?
It-
Like a little confusing?
I mean, just maybe.
Live it.
No, the eyes kill it. No, it's gone.
It moved.
Yeah, it moved. It's a problem.
To my left, we have Alain Williams, who you've met before on previous episodes with Trevor, who's a writer-performer here, yes?
Yeah, I do those things.
And to Chris's right, we have Cheyenne Rouleau for the first time joining A Filthy Talk.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us.
Oh, happy to be here.
It's lovely to have you.
Such gorgeous company. My God. Stop.
Oh boy.
No, keep going.
Yeah,
I
don't
will. Don't try to stop me.
Oh boy.
Okay.
All right. We're off to a good start here today. It's Good Friday. It's a very good Friday.
So, as per usual, let us start with what we're drinking.
What are we drinking? What do you got going here?
It's the Untangled from, I forgot already. It's my first time.
Sadly, none of us drink cider too often.
Yeah.
So this is definitely a new one, and I'm gonna maybe call for a shout out on this
No,
one. 'cause
I got you.
You know?
This is the Clipper Organic Untangled Cider.
Yes.
Bong
Yeah.
bong. It's good.
It
It's
is
really
good.
good. It's crisp as fuck.
Yeah, it is.
I'm into it.
It's a nice dry cider with a nice little bit of sweetness at the very end there. I'm enjoying it quite a bit. It's
Yeah.
You know, I don't drink cider very often, so for me, the fact that it's dry and not too oversweet and stuff like that. That's something that makes it really enjoyable.
Yeah, very crushable.
Refreshing.
Very crushable.
Crushable. Nice.
I don't know that that's what we want.
What do you got going there? Because that is not a cider.
No, I'm not a big fan of beers or ciders or anything like that. This is a cocktail. I have a rum and liqueur, which does me just fine. I like to go with a high percentage alcohol because
Sorry, what is it? A rum and what?
liqueur.
Okay, yeah.
Is that a problem?
No. I was just curious. It's the staring. Careful now. You know, we're gonna have to. It's just getting excited over here. It's a little.
I see.
That's all.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
What are you drinking? Are you also
Yes, I am also drinking the Clipper Organic Untangled Cider.
Oh boy.
You remembered
It's
it.
good.
I did
That's how
it.
I remembered it.
Yeah. You
And
did it.
how is that treating you?
It's good.
Yeah.
It's really good.
And joining us once again, we have Ryan White
Hi.
as our fact checker and chat liaison.
Yes.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, something like that.
Oh, good.
That'll do.
Nice.
And what are you drinking,
Hey,
Ryan?
Ryan.
Water, because I unfortunately have to drive home after this. But
Oh, a teetotaler. Not my favorite.
Yeah.
But they are
not
part of
everyone
society.
gets chauffeured home at the end of the shoot, Dragina. So some of us have to drive our own vehicles and don't want to break the law.
This is true, but
Fair.
no, safety third. So, thank you all for joining us. This is lovely. The reason that this particular panel has been assembled is today we're going to be talking about comedy. To my left and to the far right are people who are a part of a Filthy Lots comedic show, Make It Funny. So, please explain to us comedy. What
Explain comedy.
All of it?
Like as in concept? Okay.
Comedy. How does that work?
I don't quite understand.
Fuck.
Yeah.
I think it's
Strokes.
so. It starts with being a broken person.
Yeah, on the inside
On
and
the
sometimes
inside,
on the outside.
And then to get through that, you make other people laugh, and then that makes you feel good, and that's how comedy is created.
It's all about dopamine hits.
Woo, baby!
One at a time.
Well, so that's a good question. Is it more about the person who's trying to get the laughs versus the laughs themselves?
I think it depends on the format. Like whichever avenue you take to be a comedian, or to be funny, or to get your laughs. I think it is a bit of an exchange. I think like some people think of it like some people think of it like I'm providing a service to the audience, while others think of it like I'm taking something from them. And then there is like this in-between space that I think that I put myself in, where it's like I acknowledge that I get something out of it also. Like it is a nice little ego boost to go, yeah, I am funny. But for the most part, I think of it as making other people's day.
Yeah, and it certainly helps hide how sad I am. So
Yeah, exactly. I think comedy is like a great equalizer. You know, if you can laugh with someone, then you can relate to somebody. So I think it's a great. Yeah. It bridges a lot of gaps, I feel.
I tend to approach equalization as taking something away from someone.
I mean, that's definitely an approach.
Yeah,
Certainly
if they're taller, just cut them off at the knee.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
That's one way to go.
Whatever works for you. Yeah, good for you, not for me. Whatever you want.
Well, maybe we should identify some of the types of comedy that is sitting at this table right now, because you know we got a stand-up over here, somebody who does a lot of sketch and improv comedy.
Yeah. I'm like theater trained. I started getting into comedy by writing like funny plays and stuff, and then. And then branching into sketches, I do a lot of improv. I've done a little bit of stand-up, but I prefer like written like sketches or just straight up just balls to the wall, throwing it in the air, improvisation.
Fair enough, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Do you find that if you're doing something that is scripted, that the moments of expectation from the audience and when they would react are off of yourself?
It is different. Like there's such a joy in doing live theater because you get what you want right away, right?
Yeah.
So you can tell if somebody likes it, you can tell if somebody doesn't like it. When you get that laugh, you're like, I'm the fucking best.
Yeah.
But when you're doing it on camera, it's different. You just have to trust the material and trust yourself and trust the performers you're performing with. And sometimes you get the sound guy turning around because he's laughing.
Yeah, I was going to say, you still get the crew laughing.
Yeah,
Pretty good indicator.
I find that like I have to be careful with that because of that exact same vibe. Like the feeling of being on stage and trying out a joke that you wrote that day or wrote on the bus on the way over, and then like trying it out and it gets a big laugh or it gets like a bigger laugh than you were expecting for a joke that you wrote 5 minutes ago. Like that is a thing that I have to untrain myself to chase after when I'm performing for camera. Right. So like I'll adjust and go, oh well, the camera won't laugh, but like Ryan will, or tennis will, right? Like that. But that's not good because if they laugh, it wrecks a take. Right? Like so, I have to untrain myself from being like, hey, Nisha, come on, like, and instead be like, okay, maybe I should try playing to the camera a bit, or playing to the other actors or the script or what have you.
And that's.
Go.
No, I was just going to say, and that's a really interesting point, because for me, I do a lot of physical comedy. That's a big strength of mine. And so for me, on camera, I kind of find the reverse. Physical comedy works really well for me on camera because there's a lot of nuance that can be played in that moment.
Yeah.
Whereas on stage, you have to make it so big that, like, for the people in the back, sometimes it feels like you're kind of maybe overdoing it a little bit. You're kind of like, I really had to sell that one in order to get it out there. And it feels like I lose something in there a little bit.
Well, it's all about finding the truth of the moment. Like whatever you're doing. Like I'm theater trained, and most of my training is in theater, and it needs to be bigger, but it still needs to be honest, and I feel like the audience can smell right away when you're not being honest about it.
That's fair.
And in that way, it's a little bit harder, but then the challenges with doing it on camera is that you have to be small and internal and still very, very honest, but enough so that the joke is there, right? And I feel like on camera, it's like so much about timing.
Yeah.
People that are around you, you know?
Yeah, no, that's true.
Oh, sorry, please. Go on.
No, what I was curious about is when you're doing comedy in front of a live audience, are you doing it for yourself? Like, where is it that you receive pleasure?
Behind the curtain.
That's a
No, sorry, wrong question.
In the green.
theater school, baby.
Yeah, hey, no. From laughs. Like, I'm not having a good time until I get my first laugh.
Yeah.
I find. All right. Fucking get it. No, but honestly, like, if I don't, like, you work really hard to try and craft a set, and you have your structure and your setup and your punchline, your blah 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 blah, and you work to get to that punchline as quickly as possible, or to let that build up be as satisfying as possible. So when you get that first punch and you get that first little laugh, like that's when I'm like, okay, and I ride it's like the first hill in the roller coaster for me.
Yeah.
So it's more of an exchange?
Yeah. Like, I have to give them something to get that first laugh, but I need that first laugh in order for the rest of it.
Like if you have someone tied up and you look into their eyes and they're terrified, but it's not quite getting you there, and then you pick up a weapon and then you lift it and then they scream.
And you're like, okay, now we can have a time.
Ah.
This is different than I thought it would be.
Right, you had your hand up.
Question, I guess, mostly for Cheyenne. This is a question for me more so. Is someone who's done a lot of improv and sketch comedy.
Yeah.
How do you find the experience? Like, because one thing that I found that we haven't done here that I've been really interested in trying is using improv as a tool to develop sketch ideas. And so, like, how have you used that kind of a process in the past for writing sketches, or do you typically just sit down at a computer or a pen and paper or start writing, or do you ever sort of like workshop ideas through improv, and how does that process work?
I 100% workshop ideas through improv. I write a lot with my best friend Katie Hoffman, and most of the stuff that we write, we have a show called Lady Parts, which is like an ongoing sketch show that we do, and most of what we write is we have an idea for something, and then we're basically just trying to make the other person laugh as much as possible. And once we have that rhythm, then that's what we write down.
Yeah.
So we're always trying to do that. And I think we've done that a little bit here with things that haven't been released yet, where you have like an outline for something, and then if you allow that room for the performer to improvise within that character, that's when the fucking gold happens. That's when the magic happens. And so I think there's room for both. Like, there is a lot of me just staring at my computer or like on my phone at like 3 a.m. being like, that's a joke, trying to write out a joke. But it really does come to life when you have other people read it and say it out loud. And it's so different when you have other people saying it. And I personally, that's why I love improv so much, is I love collaborative comedy.
Yeah.
I think the energy that's created when you have a bunch of people working towards the same goal is when the funniest shit happens.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. Certainly, like a lot of sketch ideas for me that come from riffing, which essentially is sort of a verbal improv just between two people, back and forth right away. Let's just see where we're going and how far we can take this. And it's the moment that it's like, if we're both laughing too hard about what we're saying, then I'm like, okay, there's definitely something here. Let's start writing this down.
Write it down,
go with
baby.
it.
Do you find that sketches that come from like writing a joke or sketches that come from improv differ? Because my supposition is I think that like sketches that come from improv would probably be more character driven.
Yeah.
Because my experience, I've done a lot of improv too, and my experience with improv is it's largely character based. You're just finding a character in a situation and like trying to organically arrive at like what that character would do in that situation and find the comedy in that. Whereas I think when you're writing a sketch, you're usually starting from the perspective of like, I have a joke that I'm trying to express and like what characters work with that joke.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah, totally. I think it's a little bit of both. I feel like when you're a good sketch writer, you can have not even the idea of a joke in mind, but you have an idea of a character in a situation. And then whatever comes out of that comes out of that,
Those are the
right?
rudiments of improv.
Exactly.
Character in a situation.
Yeah.
Like.
But I know a lot of like very intellectual sketch writers. I'm not one of them.
Don't say yourself short. Don't say yourself short.
I mean, but you know, like there's sketch writer, or there's, you know, writers in general that need like quiet, dark, write the thing is word perfect, you don't stray from the thing, they have a timing set up in their mind. And then there's other people who do, like I have this situation that I feel is funny, or this character that I feel is funny, and then you just sort of see how it goes.
It's a funny statement to me, like the idea that somebody writes like, I don't know, and certainly you're right, there are people who write something and go, no, this is the joke, this is how this needs to happen, the timing it needs to happen in, except for the fact that when you're performing it, you're like, the timing is found, the comedy is it's all in how I bring that to life, so it's that kind of like, no, the timing is this, because this is just how it comes out, and that's what makes it work between whoever's doing the scene together and stuff like that. So it's an interesting contradiction for me, that idea.
We just did like a run of sketches that will be out soon and stuff, and one of the ones that I was involved in that I got to like write and then follow through to the end and direct, and then now we're in the post and like editing phase. That is like the directing part of it and the post part of it, like the editing phase of it, is the most interesting to me right now because it's the part that I understand the least of, but that I feel like I can still apply those like instincts to of timing and of this and that. So I wrote something with plenty of room for people like Trevor, God rest his soul, to kind of like kind of give him like room to play and kind of ad lib, and he certainly did, and it was a lot of fun. And then like also like you and like other performers in it to kind of go like, let's take what's on the page and find what's funny, but I also wrote it with timing in mind, and like looking at it in the edit now I have to find new timing to accommodate for what it is on the page and also what we got on the day. So like I think it's a bit of like it's you just have to be adaptable and trust in that, like not even in what you have on the page, but trust in the instinct that led to that. See,
it's interesting because you're right. I mean, yours was music-based, so that to me, obviously, when it comes to timing, becomes far more important. But, you know, because music is all about timing. But your point about, you know, you wrote something, you have timing in mind, you perform something, new timing is found, you cut something, new timing is found. And they always say that in any project, there's really 3 projects. There's the one you write, the one you shoot, and the one you cut. And then and that's when you end up with the final thing.
And it's so interesting. I think there's so much comedy to be had in the edit of anything, which I'm learning. On our show, Make It Funny, like there's so many jokes that can be had with the editor and the person that's handling all this fucking mishmash of footage that we do and all this like stupid shit that we say. There's comedy to be found in post, which I guess I'd never really thought about before working here, which I think is so beautiful. It's like a new skill set. It's a new thing to explore. Poor Alex.
Oh, poor Alex. Yeah. Okay. So that's the thing that we do on Make It Funny all the time. That I started and I'm like, this is going to be great, and then we had to like sit down and have a talk and go like, okay, but when is it comfortable for everyone? Is because it's a Zoom-based show where like you and I and Abdul Aziz and Sean O'Hara are gonna sit down and try and make jokes off of like bad topics. Like we're in it for that, we're present for that, but I'm on a Zoom call and I see one other head that is in the Zoom call but isn't a part of the Zoom call. And one of my favorite fucking avenues of comedy is we're working outside of the bounds of of the structure and looking at the person in the back and being like, hey, Tenniswood, how you doing? You all right?
I'm good.
Good. Like it's just like if I throw to the person who's behind the camera or isn't expecting to be there, and that's what Hey Alex is, and I love it, and he loves it sometimes but hates it most of the time. Hey Alex, you good? I'm good. All right. It's just fun to me.
It's breaking the fourth wall, though.
Exactly.
It's super fun to do.
Yeah.
My touring show, the After Party, we do it all the time. So we're in a play that is happening, and we're living in the moment of what it is. We're two drunk girls in a park. We're lost, but then we have these weird breakout moments where we're fully talking to the audience. We're in the audience. It's fun. It's fun to get everybody involved, and it's fun to know when that's not fun anymore. Also,
yes.
Is that something like you've abducted a victim, and you have them, and you've tied them up?
Okay, honey.
And they're in your basement, but then you decide that you want to maybe adopt more suffering. So you grab an additional person and bring them into it? Is that?
It's interesting that you've become a woman and now you're talking about every woman's nightmare as a nightmare for you. That's really interesting to me. I want you to just sit with that for a minute and see how that feels.
It's kind of like that, but instead of abducting a new person, it'd be like torturing the cameraman.
Yeah.
You guys can feel free to run at any moment. That's totally fine with us.
The safe space. They keep telling me.
Ryan, you have something to say?
Yeah, so to switch gears slightly, a question that came from the chat way back was to Cheyenne and Alain, best/worst sketch stand-up experiences, anything that stands out, time things went fully off the rails, or when something amazing and unexpected happened.
Oh, wow. That's You know what? Honestly, one of my best sketch experiences was we just shot in part of that series that we just shot where we got to have everybody improvise a lot in character. And Jordan and I wrote that piece and we had like a loose idea of what it was. And then it fully changed when we shot it into something I think is super magical. And yeah, there was so much improvisation, and that was one of the best. That's one of the best sketch experiences I've ever had.
Nice.
Yeah.
I have one of each. I'm going to give you the positive one. I'm going to give you the best one because I would prefer to keep it positive here. Although I will say the worst one, also fucking hilarious. So one of my favorite experiences doing stand-up came from when I had just started, or I had been in it for maybe like a year or two. So I started on Vancouver Island with a lot of people kind of started at once. There was a weird mini boom, I call it like a pop, where a bunch of young people and me, because I was older than everyone else, started at the same time. One of the people I came up with who still does stand-up now, because I work here and I found a lot of a great deal of comedic satisfaction and creative satisfaction, writing sketch and writing comedy narrative content for here. So my stand-up attendance took a bit of a hit, and then COVID happened, and then now everyone's dead. But when it was going and going strong, one of the people I started with was a young man named Miles Anderson, and he knew he was hot shit. He knew he was good. So there was this comedy competition, kind of not a competition, a showcase. Yeah. And we all signed up and we all went in alphabetical order. So Miles Anderson, Alain Williams. I'm gonna be down pretty close to last, right? So he went early. He fucking crushed. It was a full house, like 200 people or something. Just boom, 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 boom. Laugh. Yeah. He's like, oh, it's great. He steps off and he's like, hey, Alain, you'll see what I did up there. And he's being cocky as a joke because he knows he can be with me, but it's not a joke because he knows he's good, and I'm gonna be like, you piece of shit, to him as a joke because he's my homie and I know he's good, but also it isn't a joke because he's being a cocky piece of shit. It's this like cyclical thing of like humor and honesty.
So I've lost interest because I forgot what we were talking about.
Hang on, I'll get you there. So this is one of the best comedy experiences I had. He said, you're not gonna beat what I just did. I said, Miles Anderson, you piece of shit, I'm gonna get 3 applause breaks in under 5. Watch me. And he laughed and was like, ha! Which is his way of saying, like, haha, I find that funny, but also no. And so I was up there, I tell a joke, I get my first applause break, and I find him in the back of the room. And I tell my second joke, and it gets a big applause break. And he's dying now because as I'm holding the microphone, I have like 2 fingers out. I make it look casual, but I'm counting. And I tell my last joke. I look him in the eye, and I put up my 3rd finger as I say the punchline, and he died. And I because I knew I was gonna do well with the audience, so that was all for him, and that was one of my favorites.
So if he died, what did you use to kill him?
Oh, humor.
You know what? I thought of my worst. Mm-hmm. Last year we did the after party in Winnipeg. Shitty city. I hate it.
We just lost Winnipeg.
To all the family I have out there in Winnipeg, I still love you.
You live there, you know. Like, I'm not saying anything you don't know.
Why do you live there?
Yeah.
Why? Why do you live there? The nickname is Winterpeg. Why?
Yeah.
Why do you live in Winnipeg?
So this was like one of the first times we had toured to a place where we didn't know a lot of people. And we have a part in our show where we need to get like a 3rd person involved who needs to be wearing a bunny suit and rob us at gunpoint.
Sure, of course, yeah.
Watch the show, as you do.
As you do.
And we had someone do it, and it was Fringe Festival, so everyone gets just day drunk. Like, everyone gets day drunk. And
I resemble that.
Our bunny got a little day drunk, and it's a very small theater, and there's like just one scene where they're supposed to come on, and it's like halfway through like an hour show, and just from the moment we got on stage, the bunny was waiting in the wings, full bunny suit on, but the whole audience could see them. And we're like, we don't know what to do because we can't get out of it and like tell them to go away. And then when it was their time to come on, they took one step on stage, the bunny head fell off, they went to grab it, they kind of stumbled, and they grabbed it, and then they ran off. And the thing that was supposed to happen, which was them robbing us, didn't happen, which we talk about for the rest of the show. So we were just like, we were like on stage trying to hold it together, but also like what just happened. And there was also a sea of just older folks. It was like an 11 a.m. show, and our show was like very raunchy, so they already didn't like us, but it was like sold out, so we're like, whatever, we have your fucking money, who cares? It was just, and then we had to say like that bunny just robbed us, and like, but it didn't happen, so we had to like make up shit on the spot, and it was
I think
just
that bunny was gonna rob us.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen, so we're all good.
It was so confusing for not only us and the bunny, but the whole audience. And we like walked out of the show and we're like, should we do this? We're 30. Should we keep going? Yeah.
It's an assessment moment.
Yeah. It was like, let's sit with ourselves for a minute. Be like, what the fuck are we doing with our life?
Oh my God.
It was very funny though.
Ryan, what's up?
Another question for Cheyenne, which is kind of a follow-on on the worst experience, but as an improviser, have you ever played a show where you have more people on stage than are in the audience?
Oh.
Because I have.
It's
fucking awkward.
Not as an improviser, but I have as a straight theater performer. Like, just we were doing a show of Julius Caesar, and we had a cast of like 26 maybe.
God.
And there was 4 people in the audience one day.
I'd ask Alain the same question.
Show must go.
No,
people on
I'll
stage,
be honest.
0 people in the audience.
I feel like I've done that as a stand-up in 2020. Like, it's for sure. Like pre like lockdown shit, but like it's like I've done shows where there are only the comics in the back and like one audience member, and I'm like, hey gang, can we like get you in the front at least? Like, come on. And honestly, once everyone understands what kind of show it's gonna be, you just start having fun.
It gets fun again.
Exactly.
Yeah, like it's a circle.
Yeah.
You like realize that what you do for a living is stupid, and then you come around. Yeah.
It's great. Oh yeah. Okay, I have a question. Two aspects to comedy here, which affect both of you. So one is women in comedy, which is certainly a more talked about topic these days and stuff like that. And you know, that was something less seen in the past, and we're seeing a lot more of it now, and I think that's amazing, and I would be curious to hear sort of your experiences as how that's come about. And same to you, not as a woman, but as, you know, but you have a stutter, and so this is something that obviously you have to kind of, I wouldn't say combat, but work with. And how do you find that is something that kind of, you know, was a challenge, or does it work for you? Do you play with it? Like these are...
Yeah, sure. Do you want to go first?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I started doing comedy out of like the rage of feminism that lives within me.
Nice.
Like that's really where it started. Like we started doing.
I love rage.
Yeah. It's a big motivator for me.
Yeah.
But we started doing our show, the After Party, which we've been doing for years now.
Yeah.
Because we weren't, me and my friend Katie, we weren't getting cast in anything because there's so few roles for women in theater. And there wasn't really room for funny women in theater. And we thought about how radical and fun it would be to have two women that are not only like being raunchy and funny, but like are not taking themselves seriously, not trying to be attractive in any way, which we don't really see, and just seeing how people would respond to that. And it's been a mix. Like we've sold out shows. We got 5 stars from CBC. We've got we've got so much good press. But then we also have like every time we do a show in a different city, we have a fucking complaint. Like every time, like these.
You're not doing it well if you're not getting a complaint.
Exactly. Yeah. And then that evolved into Lady Parts, which is our sketch show, which is we take people that we know in the acting community that never get a chance to be funny on camera, because dudes always get a chance to be funny on camera and women never get it, especially young women. It's not a thing. Like, so we got those girls that we know and we love, and we wrote comedy for them so that they can go and perform it.
Yeah.
But we've had it's been tremendous, and we've had so much good positive feedback, but we also get shitty questions like, oh, are you in competition with the Lady Show, which is another super funny sketch show you should check out that happens in Vancouver? And we're like, no, there can be more than one show with women.
Yeah.
You know, like, fuck you. And also I'll say that when I say women, I mean anybody who identifies as a woman, and trans women are women, and fuck you, J.K. Rowling.
Yeah. Bang bang.
Just to say that.
So that's a really funny, interesting topic. I'm going to drop the persona for a second, and the fact that there is far more opportunity for people to like. The fact that drag exists, drag comes from originally vaudeville and minstrel shows, which was men playing women.
Yep.
And women just weren't, for whatever reason, allowed to perform.
It's our smaller brains, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's that.
I mean, shit. But I mean...
You get all flustered. There's a problem.
But that's also us commenting on something from 100 years ago. 100 years ago.
Yeah.
Like
Or the 80s.
Yeah, or the 80s. Yeah.
Like fucking 1920s was vaudeville and Hi, Trevor here.
Sometimes.
We're all fluid here, baby.
But that's the thing, is that like looking at the history of drag, and that came from minstrel shows and vaudeville shows, and that was a time when it was all male. It was all male fucking performers. Playing female performers, and that's what drag is. Drag is dressed resembling a girl.
Yeah.
That's what DRAG stands for.
Wow, you know, for some reason, I actually never put that together. I have no idea why I didn't, but damn.
I learned that just now.
Yeah.
Oh, you were today years old when you were
This was a learning moment.
Well, it's interesting, and you know, it still happens. Like, I see casting calls, and I've been fucking blacklisted from theater companies for calling them out on it, but I see casting calls where they're like, oh, this is hilarious, this is this funny woman, particularly a fat woman, character, and it's super funny if a dude plays it, so women aren't allowed to audition for it. And I'm like, hello, hi, funny fat girl here. I could do it also. Like, what's up with that?
Yeah.
It's strange, but I think fortunately we're in this beautiful place. Like, I love the art of drag, and I love I'm queer, and I love the culture of drag, and I feel like everybody should be able to wear whatever the fuck they want and do whatever the fuck they want.
One of my favorite quotes is, "All clothing is unisex if you just stop being such a little bitch about it."
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. What, Trevor?
What? Who said that? It was a meme. I saw it as a meme.
Trevor did just now.
And it was literally like, all clothing is. Yeah, it made me laugh, and I was like, shit, that's true. Just stop being such a little bitch about it.
Yeah, but there's so many things that are funny about the feminine experience too, and like, I don't know. I think it's a place that has been so grossly underrepresented. Wow.
Yep. You're doing well.
I'm all right.
No, you said that great.
Yeah.
You did.
I did. Okay. What was I saying?
Good cider. Good cider.
It's underrepresented.
Yeah,
I'm
Brought to you in part by
None of y'all have
Clipper
any-
Organic.
It's just
I'm fucked up.
I think dick jokes are hilarious, and I think period jokes are hilarious.
Damn
and the
right.
fact that we have heard more dick jokes than we've heard period jokes is a shame. Yeah. Because periods are hilarious. I have mine right now.
Oh, there you go.
No, I agree, and I think you were getting there. We're at the beginning of getting there.
Yeah.
Like, we're at the beginning of getting to a place of understanding. And that evolves.
Yeah.
Like, it really does, and it takes steps, and it takes time. Like, we're the microwave generation, where we expect everything in 2 fucking minutes. I want my goddamn burrito.
Oh, I think you're talking about how we stick our heads in microwaves, but that's just me.
That's just
That's
you.
different.
Yeah, all right,
Not
cool.
what I was going for.
That's
I didn't
fine.
want to tell you, but
But
that's just
we
you.
expect results right fucking now, and every situation that has popped up in the mainstream in recent times, it feels really. I feel terrible dropping my persona at the moment.
No.
Like, I was having fun, like, waiting, but I was like,
You gotta talk, girl.
Chime
You gotta
in,
talk. Let's
motherfucker.
go.
Yeah.
and you cued me to drop it, but it's at the same time, it's like, you made a really interesting point earlier that made me sit here and, like, you guys were talking and I was thinking, which was, oh yeah, you're adopting a female personage, and at the same time you're talking about, like, killing people and adopting them, which is like a horrible fear of women, more so than it is men, for sure.
Yeah.
Even though I have that fear, I shouldn't. Because I walk around as, like, a bulldog, so no one's going to be like, target the bulldog.
Yeah, but like, you don't walk around
Maybe
with
they're
your
looking
keys
for
in
a
between your
challenge,
fists
you know?
like I do.
I have. I used to carry a knife all the time.
There you go.
That's different.
Yeah.
That's a bulldog with a knife. What the fuck?
Very dangerous bulldog.
That's a dangerous bulldog.
Oh, I forgot where I was going.
Yeah.
But you kicked me out of my. I was like, I'm going to stay in this persona. And part of what I wanted to talk about tonight was performer versus persona, because the fact that I'm in this, I had to incorporate. How could you not?
Yeah, you're hot as fuck in that.
Sorry?
I'm sorry, I was saying that you're really hot
Oh, thank you.
in drag. I'm just saying.
I appreciate
I mean, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, Chris is
I've
frustrated.
known you for far too long. This whole thing is
And
just,
this is
just,
fucking
very
fucking me up. I'm
confusing.
gonna have weird
Yeah.
dreams tonight. All sorts of weirdness. And
Welcome to being bisexual.
I don't know.
sleep, understanding yourself, eh?
I feel like
That's fucked
compared to the dreams I have, this is fine.
But
I watch people die every night.
But I wanted to point something out that so the very character of Dragina Corpse, which thank you, Brendan, for giving me that name, because it just inspired me to, like, think of who the fuck this is. Very much inspired by Elvira, which is a combination of combining comedy and horror and hypersexuality, and the fact that women for the longest time were basically kneecapped, and the only way that they could access any kind of social acceptance in fame was embracing a hypersexuality, or anything to do with their sexuality, and only recently, within the last I don't know how many years, it's all a blur, fucking COVID, but it's only been in recent times, and hopefully it lasts, that women have been able to be empowered to have any kind of narrative other than sexual.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Like, it's so interesting. I went to theater school, and there was a lot more women than there were men at the theater school, and some non-binary folks and people. But the roles that we were cast in were always like very much on the binary, and it was like charming men that can say whatever they want, and the wife or the girlfriend, someone in relation to the man, never like their own character. And if they didn't fall into that like ingenue kind of look, then they were the old women that are a joke. And I played all old women in theater school. Like I have played on a TV show that aired a grandmother.
What?
I am 30 years old. Okay, so
With any makeup?
yeah, I sat in the makeup chair, and they were like, "What the fuck am I supposed to do with you?" And I was like, "I don't know, maybe
Give me
like
jowls.
Yeah, like, but you know, we have been put into this one category of like, we are in relation to a man, we are something to a man, we're a romantic thing to a man, or if we're not that, we're crazy but hot. There's that whole thing, and if you fall out of that, you get super fucked in acting.
Yeah.
And I've been super fucked for a long time. And finally now it's changing, and I'm allowed to do other things. But it's part of the reason that, you know, I started doing my own writing, is because I was like, I want to write roles for myself that I don't get to see, you know?
That's interesting, because you're right. I've done a lot of theater myself, and I'm just sitting here thinking back on all that theater and all the shows I did, and you're right. I mean, certainly performing a lot of sort of classical theater, or even theater going up into the 50s, like the scripts being written in the 50s, they're just, was all the women I can think of in all of those plays that I did. Every single one of them was generally in reference to a man in one way or another. There wasn't.
Oh, definitely. And that beyond the 50s, well beyond the 50s.
Yeah.
And not only that, but to a certain point, only ever played by men.
Like,
like this.
Yeah, well, and you know, like Shakespeare, like I mean, theater school got really fucking precious about all Shakespeare plays, and I honestly couldn't give a shit about Shakespeare, but I don't really care anymore. I've read enough that I'm just like, this is boring. But you know, there's the men played the female characters. Like, it was like you weren't allowed to be on stage if you were a woman, and it's just, I don't know. It's wild. It's a wild thing. It's 50% of the population. I just don't get it.
So this is everything we've been talking about aside. This you kind of brushed over Shakespeare, and do you find no value in Shakespeare?
No, I don't. I don't find no value in Shakespeare. I think there's some great plays and some great things and beautiful storylines, and he invented a bunch of words and shit.
Maybe,
but like,
might have stolen it. We're not sure.
Yeah, whatever. But I think that the theater community holds on to him like he's like some kind of god.
That's true.
No,
And
I
I
would
think
agree with that.
I think it's bullshit, because if you look at the roles for women in Shakespeare, they suck, and theater school perpetuates constantly putting these plays up and constantly putting these roles on stage, and it just perpetuates a cycle of being shitty to women.
It's like 9 Inch Nails. Great band, terrible fans.
I mean, that applies to so many things beyond 9 Inch Nails. Like, that applies to the Catholic Church.
Oh, man.
I think we got away from. You asked Alain a
I did ask
question,
Alain a question
and I
as
feel
well.
like I.
Okay,
hijacked
no.
the
That's fine, because
But this was
I don't have as much to say about being like a comic with a stutter as you do about being like a comic who's a woman, but it's going to take me about as long.
Okay. Oh shit. That just sparked a very interesting thing. Is that okay? So we've adopted a rationality. We all love the fuck out of you, and we all know you have a stutter, and we all wait for you to finish what you're saying.
Yeah.
So do you come across a problem where people step on you? where people, when you start to stutter, that people try to finish your sentence?
So I think, yes, I certainly do have that. Perceiving it as a problem is dependent on person to person.
Sure.
I think, because I am a performer, so I know what I'm gonna say. It's just gonna take me a minute. Yeah. But if people,
it's almost always worth it.
Yeah. But
Just so you know.
I love the almost, because sometimes for sure it's fucking not worth it. Sometimes for sure it's not.
100%. Sometimes it's not fucking worth
It's like,
it.
man, I finished my cigarette a minute ago and I stood here for you.
No. It's that, yeah, I got two things to say about this. One of them is that almost always you'll start to stutter on a thing where I go, I know what he's going to say. I should finish his sentence. No, I shouldn't finish his sentence. Like, there's a really rapid thing that goes through my brain. And then there's one time where you started to stutter, and this fucked me up hard. Like, for a long time, I was like, I don't understand what's happening in the world. Because you started to stutter, and you couldn't get there, and then you just said, you literally said, fuck it, and said something else.
I walked away, yeah.
No, you didn't walk away. You said fuck it, and you found a different way to say the thing.
Oh, here's the secret.
My fucking mind.
Here's the secret. I'm not a lagging computer. I'm also fucking here. I'm here the whole time too. I don't black out and come back. I'm here the whole goddamn time. I also hear it. Like, when I'm not gonna repeat it here because it's a joke. When I first started stand-up, I found myself telling jokes about what a stutter is, and having to explain what that is, and one of the things I do explain is that, like, no, I'm also here. Like, I hear it, like, I'll be like, buh, 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 and then up here I'm like, okay. Right? Like, so, like, yeah, it definitely is a thing, and I get to fuck with people and say a different thing or switch it up and go like, buh, 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 puh, 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 puh. Like, I get to
do that?
Yeah, I have a great time.
Because I feel like there's been times where you've done that.
A good time. I think the sorry, did you say this?
I was just going to ask, are you familiar with the work of Drew Lynch?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it comes back to something that Cheyenne was saying. Like, I think that there's been a bit of a switch in culture where we're starting to, like, embrace more a broader spectrum of lived experience. And, like, I think a big part of the reason that there's a lot more acceptance these days than there has historically been, nowhere near enough as of yet, of, like, women comedians, is that, like, for a long time I think people were resistant to, like, thinking about the lived experiences of, like, women. Like, you know, men didn't want to hear about periods or, you know, being scared of being raped or any of that kind of stuff.
Wait,
like,
women live their own lives?
we didn't want to hear about it. We didn't
I
think
know.
of women
God.
as people for whatever reason. And now there's a much more greater degree of acceptance of that stuff. And so we're starting to be able to find the comedy in it more.
Totally.
And I think we're starting to see comedians now not seeing, you know, disabilities or you know, things that they have about themselves as like weaknesses, but opportunities for comedy more so. And you see dudes like Drew Lynch, who's fucking killing it on YouTube. He's got 2.5 million subs. He's got 100 million lifetime views. Dude is blowing up, and he leans into it. Like, he's not ashamed about it. This is who I am. This is where I come from. This is what's funny about me. This is where I can discover comedy.
I think in relation to stand-up, as you kind of asked, it was all of my, like, all the stand-ups that I'm a fan of, or not just, but like comedians in general, to talk about what they want to talk about. I knew it was something I wanted to talk about, so I have written jokes about it. I do have time, plenty of time on it. What kind of threw me for a loop was having to figure out and having to understand when to talk about it, and that I probably would have to talk about it as quickly as possible in order to give the audience permission to laugh along with me. Because I've had it the whole time. I know why I find it funny. But the audience doesn't know if I'm putting on a persona or playing a bit, or like, is this offensive? Is this okay? Is this right? Is this wrong? Is this a joke even? Like I don't know what's what's happening. So like the advice I got and the learned experience that I got on stage was talk about it up front, get it out of the way, and then like it became like a practice for me to write the quickest possible joke about it if I'm at an open mic and only have like 3 minutes or 5 minutes up, and I'm like, no, I've written 5 minutes worth of jokes and I can only do 4.5 of it because I have to do this joke about to give you permission to walk at my pace. And that's another thing that I've had to adapt to is like if someone goes on stage ahead of me and they're like a mile a minute, like quick, boom, 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 I go on stage and I talk slow. So I bring them down and then I can bring them up at my pace instead of trying to keep up with someone.
That's just strategy. So so something I wanted to talk about. Hi everyone, it's Trevor Gemma.
Is it? Are you sure?
Can
I speak to Trevor now?
I'm Dragina Corpse.
Oh yeah.
So
losing it.
I wanted to Dragina Corpse? Nothing?
I don't like the word gorps for some reason.
I don't like that word.
I don't like that.
Kind of food
I don't like it.
So I wanted to talk about
Find it on wish.com.
Sorry, what?
This is like a kind of food I'd find like wrapped in cellophane on wish.com or something. You know? It's just terrible.
Anyway.
I don't know whether to feel insulted by that or whatever.
Just gorps. It's fine. You're great.
Oh, thanks. So performer versus persona.
Yeah.
So I don't know how this represents. I mean, if most of yours is improv and your experience is improv and sketch, then those are all definitely characteristics that aren't necessarily you trying to say, "Hi, this is me," versus a stand-up persona, which is like creating something that has to kind of maintain a characteristic as it goes through different setups.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, like, I my character in the after party has like followed me, so people think I play like a drunk teenager in the park that's like done a bunch of drugs, and we like snort Ritalin to go into a time warp. You should watch it.
Ritalin.
But
Sorry, what was that?
No, keep going.
So like it's a very like wild child character, and it's funny because it is very representative of a time in my life, but it isn't. I like go to bed at like 10 now, but I feel like after
Seriously?
I'm an old lady.
Judging. Fully judging.
I don't care. It's who I am.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's who I am. I'm a homebody, but people think that like especially after we do a show, people think that's who I am now. Like they're like, yeah, let's go like and do drugs, and I'm like, that's great. I'm gonna go home to my dog though. Like I'm not.
Yeah.
So it is interesting, especially on fringes, on like the fringe circuit, because it is like a very party atmosphere, and you're with a bunch of artists that travel all the time, so there's a lot of partying and stuff. And I'm like, I honestly like would love to go home and have a bath after a show, but people think I want to party, so it's this interesting like persona that has followed me.
Yeah.
Which I'm not mad at. It's just a thing that's happened.
That's fair.
I think that's a higher risk for what you do compared to what I do. Like that is like definitely like I don't exhibit someone who's that much more than what I am in real life.
So is there any delineation between Alain Williams stand-up artist versus Alain Williams person?
I think the major difference is like this person off stage doesn't mind if this is a conversation, where the person on stage like wants you to shut the fuck up in the audience. like that's it. Like
that's minor. That's
no. Like
really minor.
I'll say this. Like I've played with it quite a bit when I first started and landed on, well, just be me. But then also like, well, what does that mean? Because I can be a lot of things.
Yeah.
I can be a lot. I can be quiet. I can be fast and loud. I can be slow and still. There were times when I was playing with like because I'm in Canada, I'm dealing with mostly white audiences. I'm black. They have
What?
They have. I know. they like what? But what that means is that the audience has a preconception of what that means. I've been on shows where I will walk on stage and I hear people in the front go, "This is gonna be good," and I'm like,
What?
I want to know what you mean.
I'm sorry.
by that.
I'm getting. Yeah, I want to know what they mean by that.
So do I. Right?
the fuck?
But like
It'd be
it's
great if you're walking around. It's really not.
it's not.
I'm
It's
new.
not. I'm talking about comic books the whole time. Yeah, bish. No,
Fuck
like
you and your preconceptions.
yeah, fuck it, exactly. But then also I
a new period
have
set.
the right and the room to play with that. So I've like code switched on stage depending on the joke I'm telling. Like sometimes I'm like, I think I'm about to get a little blacker. Like it's like because there are different ways I talk to my groups of friends over here, compared to how I talk to an audience, and I feel like the tone of the joke or the tone of the show affects how I go, and I like to think of myself as somewhat versatile.
Do you judge that in the moment? Like, do you judge that in the back and forth from the audience?
It's an instinct that I use in the moment off stage, so I don't see why I wouldn't do it on stage. I think like sometimes I look like out the curtain like ahead of time, and or I listen to how the audience is reacting to the host to figure out like what kind of approach I'm gonna take. I'm like, oh yeah, they're older, so like I don't know if I should be like what like I shouldn't go like too ham on them. And then also like there's that space of like sometimes I want to be it, sometimes I want to subvert, sometimes like at the end of the day I'm just myself, and because I can be a lot of things, I do what I want.
So when you do that, when you switch it up based on whatever criteria.
Yeah.
If you're like, I'm gonna do this because they're this, are you gathering data? Like, are you just gathering data to refine your performance?
I think every good comedian in any field, like any format, should be, right? Like if you're writing a show and episode 1 comes out and you're working on episode 5 and they say like, we like this, like you at least have that information. You don't have to act on it. You can still do what you want, but you still have that info. I'm just getting that feedback in real time.
Yeah, I was about to ask you how that would apply to someone who's doing sketch comedy.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's just like feeling out your audience, and also comedy is subjective, right? So
Totally.
you write something and you're like, this is the best joke I've ever written in my life, and then it bombs and you're like, huh,
Never mind.
what does that say about me, right? Like, so you have to adjust to that at all times, and it's not, and I think bad comedians are dishonest and like are playing. I personally think the worst kind of comedians are the comedians that are just doing it solely for the audience and aren't doing it from a dishonest place. Everything that you can have, a good comedian has a million tricks up their sleeve, a million different styles and ways to do things, right? And they're all from an honest place. And it's only when you get into being dishonest or trying to prove yourself too much that I think you become a shittier comedian.
Yes.
Do you, so there was something you just said that made me go, whoa, shit.
I've done that a lot to you this episode.
That's great.
You're breaking minds
thank
here.
you.
Yeah.
You're saying?
When the audience doesn't react, do you take that personally and does it make you like inflect?
It's situation to situation, right? So I know that if I'm going to go do my set about my abortion on, to a bunch of older people, I know that there's going to be some people that don't like that topic, and that's okay. That's fine.
But that's subject.
But that's subject, yeah.
If you have a material that's more, abortions are very hot topic.
Yeah.
Controversial, like you.
If it's something that you think is gonna hit and it doesn't hit.
I we're all made of ego. Like, of course you're like, fuck, I suck. I mean, it's part of being a comedian is just constantly being like, I'm the worst person in the world. But I think you can only, you get that out of you pretty early on in your career. Like, you get that kind of judgment and that kind of taking everything to heart early on in your career, because as an actor, as a comedian, you have to just keep going and trying to be honest and be yourself in the moment. You're just selling yourself. You're who you are, and you can't really change that, right? So I feel like you can only take that to heart so much before you stop doing comedy.
Yeah,
That's fair.
That's fair. That's a good
Very
point.
fair. Do you find that in stand-up where you get the same kind of feedback?
I know that I'm trying things out, and I know if I try something enough that works and then it doesn't work one time, I'm fine. But if I'm trying something
One
new,
time?
no. If I try something out that works a bunch of times and then it doesn't work the 10th time, I know that that's a situational thing. I have to zoom out and look at it.
You travel around, right?
No, I'm not a traveling comic. There are a lot of people that are, but like I've been places and done comedy slightly outside of my comfort zone, but I've never been like really on the road type shit. But there's like, it's you just try things out and see what works, but you collect what works and you keep sharpening it and honing it. And then if something that works doesn't work, there are tricks and safety nets and shit. The comedian Dion Cole, who's one of my favorites, like absolute favorites. He was a writer on Conan. He's a stand-up. He's on a lot of the Blackish shows and things like that. He used to do a thing very like early on where he would have a pen and a pad on stage with him. He knew his jokes, so he didn't read his jokes. There was nothing written on the pad itself. But at the end of every joke, he would watch the audience and then just scratch a line. And whether the joke worked or not, he did that bit and it worked. I think it felt kind of like a safety net, so he definitely doesn't do it so much now. But for sure, it's just one of those little things you can go, oh yeah, cool. If it didn't work, but his jokes were good, so they always worked, and he still did that bit.
Nice.
And there's also to be said, like, you're gonna stumble as a comedian. Comedians have to be on top of everything that's happening in the world, what the climate is. Like, you have to be on top of a lot of things, and comedy doesn't always age well. And and you say things that suck sometimes, and you have to just be able to listen to your audience and say like, oh, I didn't realize that sucked. It didn't suck in my head. Thank you, and move on and do better next time.
Well,
so
I will say.
Go ahead.
Oh no, sorry. I was just gonna say, comedy comes from a place of nakedness is the best way I can think of this.
Yeah.
Like you have to basically be able to just tear yourself down, be ugly, be weird, be whatever. You can't. The ego has to be checked at the door, because I think if you're sitting there going, I have to both look good and be funny, you're gonna have a problem.
Have you met me?
Oh yeah. But I mean, aside from Cheyenne here, I would say I would say though, but you have to be able to bear yourself a little
It's
bit,
totally true.
and that is where a lot of comedy comes from. However, we do have to wrap this up.
I knew it would happen. I knew it would happen.
Before we do that, I do want to say one thing. Right here, this is for Baking's a Drag coming up. This is for a couple of episodes down. And the next episode, you'll be seeing Ellen Williams here, who, look at this and just picture it there.
I mean, I make it look better, but okay.
I think it was a little bit more simple.
In all honesty, I gotta give you credit. I didn't even make it to Filthy Talk on my episode. I was way too drunk. I made it to the
we
floor,
all
and that was
remember.
about as far as I got. But I just so you know, keep an eye out for that. That's going to be upcoming. It's going to be fantastic. That was a really fun day today watching that be filmed.
Yeah,
so
I really wanted to get into some stuff that was more about, because like I came up with this persona that was based on Elvira, who was very much part of a horror.
Oh, I'm not sleeping ever again. Never happening.
And that's where Dragina Corpse comes from. But I didn't get into that conversation because we had a lot to say. So
Well,
thank
just
you
have
guys.
us on next episode. We'll talk about
And there should be a full drag episode. I think there's like a
I mean,
full
we
on
did.
like.
We did
Yeah,
that.
there we go.
Again, keep it coming.
We'll do it again.
There's more
We'll
to
bring it
talk
all
about.
back.
Yeah.
Sorry,
So-
one last thing. Ryan, go quick.
I got a quick pitch before we end the show. It's a travel series where we send Alain around small towns of British Columbia, and he has to do a comedy show and a weird job in each place.
You know I'm black, right? Yeah. Okay, just checking. Cool.
Who did that come from? Okay.
Shifty has
Thank
her.
you for the suggestion, and duly noted. However, thank you for joining us. I'm Dragina Corpse, and I'm Trevor Gemma. And that would have played better if we got into what I was going to talk about this episode, but we didn't. So tune in next time. Stay tuned for lots of stuff coming up on the channel. I think we have. Wait, no, that was last weekend. And there's stuff coming. There's tons of stuff coming. I'm drunk. Part about Baking's a Drag is you get drunk as fuck. Yeah. So we did it, and I am hammered, and
I'll help you.
I think I'm doing okay.
We got more Baking's a Drag on the way.
Come over here.
We got more Baking's a Drag on the way. We got more Make It Funny on the way. Next episode is
Dino Archie.
Oh, the God! It's gonna be the
best
Monday? I think that might be Monday.
Yeah.
It's soon.
So anyway, thank you. Wait. Thank you for joining us.
Oh.
There we go.
And
Never again.
next Friday, every Friday, live from the Filthy Lot Studios for a Filthy Talk. I'm Dragina Corpse.
And I'm uncomfortable.
You're also off camera. Stay filthy.